Hare Krishna, is everybody able to see the screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Matachis and Prabhujis. Okay, so we are supposed to start from 2.31. So last class we dealt about Gnana Yoga. So Krishna, he gave Arjuna the concept of what Gnana he gave? The concept of soul, right? You're the soul and yeah, you're not the body. The soul is different from the body. The soul is eternal and the body will definitely undergo changes and finally it will perish. It is temporary. So you don't have to worry for the body because you're not the body, you're the soul. So he gave him a full Gnana Yoga wherein it discusses about the concept of soul. So now from 31 to 38 shlokas, now Krishna, as we said, right, second chapter is like it gives the summary. So we dealt about Gnana Yoga. So we know the concept, knowledge of soul. Now we talk. Krishna talks about Karma Kanda. Okay, fight for gains come from dutifully fighting and losses come from not fighting. So now Krishna, so he gave the knowledge. Okay, so he's going one more step higher. So Karma Kanda. Okay, so let's see what Krishna says in Karma Kanda 31. स्वधर्मम् अपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुम् अर्हसि धर्म्याद्धियुद्धात् श्रेयो अन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. And so there is no need for hesitation. See, now Arjuna, he is a Kshatriya, and his duty as a Kshatriya is to protect his praja, his people, right, and fight for dharma. And what and as a duty for a kshatriya, he has to fight for dharma, and that is the best service. So he should not hesitate to do that. So kshatriyas, they are trained to fight, not out of anger or something. They are trained to fight to stop injustice, right? So when fighting is done according to God's law, it is not sinful violence. See, when it is a dharmic war, it is not bad. See, now Arjuna, he's not fighting for sense gratification to just get the kingdom and enjoy it by himself. He's fighting for dharma because Duryodhana said, I won't even give you a pin needle size of kingdom. And Kshatriyas, they have their duty is they have to rule the kingdom. So for that, now they don't have any kingdom. So for that, they had to fight. So it's a dharmic war. Okay, so Krishna said you have to fight when violence is required for dharma. It's always not that non-violence is good, we should not fight, no. But for dharmic reasons, non-violence is necessary. It's like this. See, a judge punishes a criminal to protect society, right? And a surgeon, he cuts the body to save the life. Surgeon, he does operate, he operates, he uses the scissors or knives to operate. So that is necessary, right? To save the life of a particular person. So, like that, religious fighting means dharmic fighting, it helps everybody, it helps the establish dharma. So, that kind of fighting is necessary. Okay, so those who die in such a dharmic battle are benefited. How? When they fight in a war which is dharmic, it is beneficial. How? Just like how animals are offered in Vedic sacrifice are benefited. See, we know that in olden days when yagnas were done, animals, cow sacrifice was given in the yagnas, right? Why was it done? The cow would get in the next birth, it would become a human being, right? So it is getting benefited, right? So like that, here also the same thing. Like people who die in a dharmic battle, they are also benefited. They go to heavenly planets after their death. Okay, so Krishna is telling Arjuna that you should fight without fear or doubt. So you just do your duty for Krishna. See, now Krishna is telling him to fight, right? So do your duty for Krishna. That's why Krishna is saying you fight. Right? Don't fear. There's nothing to fear. You fight. Okay. See, Swadharma, specific duties. In the liberated stage, you don't have to do. See, spiritual, no bodily concept. Okay. That's why in the liberated stage, you have no duties. You are spiritual, totally your life is dedicated to Krishna. That bodily concept itself is not there. You are on the concept of soul. Okay, totally you're spiritual. But when you're in the conditioned stage, right? All of us are now in conditioned stage, right? For us, what we have to follow the prescribed duties. These are the stepping stones to spiritual understanding. So we have to do our prescribed duties, okay, which are based on the three modes. Now, and what is the goal? Progress towards liberation. So when we do these prescribed duties, okay, they make us progress towards liberation. And then what happens when liberated? Obviously, we become spiritual. We also we come to the we don't have that bodily concept. We come to the concept of soul. Okay. So duties are to be done by conditioned soul, and those who are liberated, since they are on the concept of soul, they are spiritual. They don't have to do any work or something. And their work is only to think of Krishna, talk of Krishna, preach Krishna consciousness, seek Krishna prasad. They are totally into Krishna consciousness. But for us, for people who are in conditioned stage, we still don't have that much taste for Krishna, where we can give up everything and do everything to for the sake of Krishna. So that is why we have to do our prescribed duties that are mentioned in the Vedas. Right? By doing that, we slowly progress towards liberation. So after liberation, then we get that spiritual body. I mean, we overcome that bodily concept, and we understand that we are not the body, we are the soul. So we come to that spiritual platform.
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
what is this second point below Swadharma? This second point, Swadharma specific duties, a prescribed duty is uh,
Stepping
uh,
stone to spiritual understanding, Prabhuji. So they are saying that is the medium for conditioned people. So we have to do prescribed duties. We are not like what do you say, pure devotees, where they are pure, very spiritual, and they are on the platform of soul. So we are not like them. We are conditioned living entities. So we have certain duties and responsibilities to do that are given in the Vedas. Like a Kshatriya has to do so and so duties, and a Brahmana has to do so and so duties. Right? They are mentioned in the Vedas. So when you do those particular duties, slowly, what happens? You get purified. You move. You progress towards liberation. Okay. So then after liberation, obviously you come to that spiritual body, you come to the concept that you are not this body, you are the soul. Okay. Right. Okay, Prabhuji.
yes, Mataji.
See, performing swadharma or discharging specific duty, see, gradually elevates to higher platform heavenly planets. So by performing prescribed duties for us, because we are in conditioned stage, we have to do duties, prescribed duties, right, which purify us, and that progresses us towards liberation. Okay. So Lord Krishna does not support artificial renunciation and acceptance of sannyas by a kshatriya. So that's why Krishna is saying, when Arjuna is saying that I don't want to fight, I don't want to kill my relatives, I will go into the forest and live by begging. So Krishna is not encouraging that. He's saying you're a kshatriya, and your duty, your swadharma or your prescribed duty as a kshatriya is to fight. So you fight. You're not your duty. You're not a brahmana to go into the forest and live by begging. He's not Krishna is not supporting artificial renunciation. Okay, he's saying no, he does not encourage Arjuna to take sannyas and go to the forest and live by begging. Okay, so he's saying you do your swadharma, and your kshatriya, and your dharma is what, your prescribed duty is what, You are a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means you have to protect Dharma, you have to protect the people. So you fight now. You are fighting, this war is dharmic. You're fighting for a cause. You're not just fighting for sense gratification, right? It's a dharmic war. So if you fight in this war and you win the war, you'll get the earthly kingdom. But if you lose or die in this war, dharmic war, you will go to heavenly planets. There's no loss for you. So that's what Krishna is trying to say. Okay. So next to 32. So, O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Now, Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, you're so lucky. See, this battle has come by itself, not because you wanted it. Right. So a Kshatriya's duty is to protect people and stop injustice. If a Kshatriya becomes non-violent on the battlefield, that is foolish. See, the duty of a Kshatriya has to be violent. He has to fight when the opponent challenges him. At that time, if he says on the battlefield, "Oh, I don't want to be non-violent. I don't want to kill," so it's so foolish, right? It's just like, see, if a policeman he uses force, right, to stop a criminal, or a judge, he must punish to establish peace in the society. So, like that, violence is necessary to keep dharma, I mean, to establish dharma. That is not sinful. So, violence is needed to establish dharma. So, if Arjuna wins this war, dharmic war, he will get the kingdom, earthly kingdom. But if he fights, if he dies fighting for his dharma, he will go to heaven. So in both ways, Arjuna benefits. So that is why Krishna is telling Arjuna, you should fight without fear. Okay. So anyway, there's no loss for you, right? So if you win, you will get the earthly kingdom. If you die in the battle, you will go to heaven. So either ways, it will benefit you. So get up and fight, Krishna is saying. Okay, verse 33. Okay, so Krishna is telling, if you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties. And thus, you will lose your reputation as a fighter. Okay, so here Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you don't fight, that is not proper, it is not good. See, Arjuna is a Kshatriya and his duty is to fight to protect his people and establish dharma. We all know, see, Arjuna is quite famous as a warrior. Right? He is, he defeated many great warriors. He never lost any war. And he even fought with Lord Shiva. Okay, and he defeated Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva gifted him the Pashupati Astra. So all of you must be knowing that. And all his teachers, including Dronacharya, they praised him as the best fighter. Now, if Arjuna runs away without doing his duty of fighting, what will the people say? Hurry, Arjuna, he became afraid. Everybody will think like that only. All of a sudden, such a great warrior, so much famous, he's trying to run away, not fight and run away. People will say, Arjuna, he became afraid because they had less army, we had more army. He got scared and he ran away. He became afraid. Nobody will think that out of compassion, he ran away. He stopped fighting. Everybody will think he became afraid. Okay, so that's why Krishna is telling you will lose your good name, all that good name that you have earned all this time, you will lose it. You will get sin. So, in fact, Krishna is saying, see, you are thinking that you will go to hell if you fight and kill all of them. But if you don't do your duty, that is sin. Then you will go to hell. See, as a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight. So if you don't fight, you're incurring sin, right? But what you are thinking, if I fight, if I do my duty and I kill them, then I will incur sin. No. Okay, you will incur sin if you don't fight because that is your duty. Okay, so Krishna is telling Arjuna, you must fight bravely. Okay, you as the Kshatriya, it is your duty to fight. So you get up and fight. Okay, so 2.34. Okay, so Krishna is telling here, telling Arjuna, people will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So now Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, if you run away from the battle, people will laugh at you and say Arjuna is a coward, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So Krishna says, if you get afraid and leave to save your life, better than that is it's better you die fighting for dharma. Instead of not fighting and running away into the forest and getting a bad name, it's better you die fighting for dharma. Why? Because dying in duty keeps honor. See, for a Kshatriya, if he dies in the battlefield, that is honor for him, rather than leaving the battlefield and running away, getting scared and running away. So, Krishna is saying, you fight, you do your duty as a Kshatriya, and even if you die, that's okay. That is like honor for you, right? So, running away, it brings running away from the battlefield is like dishonor for you. That is, dishonor is worse than death. So Krishna is saying, so that's why you fight. Okay, don't run away. So you fight because you're a Kshatriya. It is your duty to fight. You fight. Okay.
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
uh, Mataji, in that previous
One
shloka
second. Yeah.
2.34,
Huh?
uh, uh, what do we mean by this word infamy?
That's what Prabhuji. That is dishonor. Infamy means you will become not famous. Infamy means. See, Arjuna is so famous, right? He was such a great warrior, so much fame, name he got. All that will become, you will become infamous, he's telling, Krishna is telling, just because they will not think that out of compassion you are not killing and you are running away into the forest. They will think that you are scared, you got scared and you're running away. So they are saying infame, you'll become infamous. All the credit that you got, you even fought with Lord Shiva, you won many great warriors. Now just because you will run away from this battlefield, you will become infamous. Infamy means infamous. Okay, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So 2.35. Now, Krishna is telling the great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Okay, now Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, if you leave the battlefield, see, all these great generals like Duryodhana and Karna, they will not think, oh, Arjuna is so kind, so compassionate, he does not want to kill. They will, what will they think? They will not think like that. Krishna is telling Arjuna. So they will think Arjuna ran away because he was afraid. Seeing our army strength, he got scared and he ran away. And these people will, they will laugh at you. And when they laugh at you, you will lose your respect. You will feel insulted. Your great name, everything will go away. Your fame and everything will go away. Say they will, think of you as small and weak. So that's why Krishna is saying, don't run away. So that's why you fight. You do your duty as a Kshatriya, you fight. So nobody will think that you've done a great thing, great act of compassion by saying that, oh, if I kill them, they will die. That's why I don't want to fight, I'm going. Nobody will think like that. They will think that you got scared seeing all of us and then you ran away in fear. So that's why you better get up and fight. Okay? 2.36. अवाच्य वादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तव हिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? So now Krishna is further telling Arjuna, see, if you run away from the battle, your enemies will laugh at you. They will say you're weak and afraid. So for a great warrior like you, so this kind of dishonor is like worse than death. So Arjuna thought like he was being kind, right? And that's why he did not want to fight. But Krishna is saying that is not real kindness. Right now, you're scared and you're confused. And real kindness does not mean running away from duty. Okay, so you have to do your duty even if it is hard or difficult. That is what Krishna is telling. See, if a doctor feels pity and refuses to operate, the patient may die. Right? That is not kindness. That is fear of the doctor. Right? So, true compassion means doing the duty right, even when it is hard. See, as a Kshatriya's duty is to fight, whether the opponent may be even his father or relatives or anybody. When the opponent, like for a Kshatriya Dharma, is if an opponent, if an enemy comes and throws a what, he asks him to fight, even in the night, he should be ready to fight. Even, I mean, a gambling match or a war, he should be ready. Be it whether it is his father, relative, or anybody, so he has to do his duty. He has to fight. Okay, so here that's what Krishna is saying. True compassion, real compassion means doing your right duty even when it is hard or difficult for you. Okay? Okay. So 37 verse Krishna is telling here either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, okay, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore get up with determination and fight. So now here Krishna is telling, see, there is no loss for you. See, all this Krishna is at least he's till now, and see, till 30th shloka he gave gnana based on knowledge of soul. Now, okay, if forget now Arjuna, Krishna is saying, okay, now that is one concept that I've tried to explain. Okay, now I'm telling you through karma kanda. Karma kanda means what? You do for sense gratification. You do something so you get some benefit. So Krishna is at least trying to encourage Arjuna to fight that way. So now he's telling, see, either see what will happen if you fight in this dharmic war. Either you will be killed in the battlefield, and then you'll go to heaven. You will get heaven. If you get killed in the battlefield, you will go to heaven. You will get heavenly planets. Or
You have
if
to
you win on
submit
earth
your
planet.
pollination thing,
Hare Krishna, please
pollination project.
please be on mute. Yeah, thank you. So, and if you like conquer, and I mean, like if you win on the earth,
Yeah. चलो करते हैं.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kapoor Prabhu, please be on mute. I'll try to mute. Yeah, whenever you have a question, then you can please mute yourself. I mean, unmute yourself. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, so here Krishna is telling that if you win the battle, you will get the earthly kingdom. If you lose and die in the battle, you will go to heavenly planets. So he's showing him the karma kandi way, right? The benefits he's showing. Either ways you fight. Okay, so either ways you will get the profit. Okay, so that's what Krishna is trying to explain, Arjuna. You have no loss here. So next 38. Fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. By so doing, you shall never incur sin. So now Krishna is coming from Karma Kandi to Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. What is Bhakti Yoga? We do everything, any work to please Krishna, right? Without expecting any results. So that's what Krishna is saying. See, fight for the sake, just fight for the sake of fighting without till now Krishna first till the shloka number 30 he explained gnana or sankhya yoga, explaining the concept of soul and body. Now from 31 to 37 Krishna explained karma kanda. and he tried to attract Arjuna to fight. Now, from 38 onwards till 53, Krishna is talking about Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Okay, do it for the satisfaction. Any work that you do it for the satisfaction of Krishna. So you will not, I mean, without expecting anything in return. So that's what Krishna is saying here. Fight for the sake of fighting without happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so, you shall never incur any sin. So, right, if we do any activity to please Krishna, it becomes a karma. There is no karma, right? Good or bad karma is not there. So, that is what Krishna is telling here, telling Arjuna. So, fight because it is your duty, not out of, because you'll get some happiness, you'll get some victory or loss or anything like that. Okay. So, fight only to please Krishna, not for your sense gratification. So, when we work only for Krishna, there is no karma, there is no sin. Okay, this is 2.38. Okay, see from 2.39 onwards to 53, it is Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. So, Bhakti Yoga. Okay, let's see what Krishna says from here. Okay, Esha te abhihita sankhye buddhir yoge tu imam shrunum buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So now Krishna is telling, see, thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study, Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya or Jnana Yoga means what? Analytical study. What is the analytical study between? He told, Krishna gave the difference between soul and body. So he's telling, I've told you that. Now, and then he told about Karma Kanda from 31 to 38. Now, what is Krishna saying? Now listen, as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. So till now he explained Karma Kanda with fruitive results. So he said, if you fight, if you die, you will go to heaven. If you win, you will get the earthly kingdom. So that is Karma Kandi. So now what Krishna is saying, now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So when you work for Krishna, whatever work you do, it becomes a karma. There is no good or bad karma. It frees you from bondage. See, why do you come to this material world? Because you have both bad and good karma. That is why you come back to this material world. But if you don't have any good or bad karma, then what's the necessity for you to come back? It means you're liberated, right? You go back to Godhead, right? So it frees you. You're free from the bondage of material world. Okay, of all the material work. All right, you're free. So that is what Krishna is trying to say here. Okay. So 2.40. Yeah. Neha Vikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo na vidyate Swalpamapyasya dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. Oh. What is this? I'm not able to earn this ender. What is? Okay, I'm not able to understand that in yellow box. What is that? Krishna is saying there is no loss or diminution. A little advancement on this path can protect one from the dangerous type of fear. Okay, so here Krishna is talking about now he's talking about Buddhi Yoga. So what is the advantage in Buddhi Yoga? Krishna is trying to explain Arjuna. So whatever spiritual effort that you put is never wasted. Krishna is telling Arjuna. See, even a small step that you take in Krishna consciousness, it stays forever. See, material work, it gives results only if it is 100% successful. right? If it fails, you gain nothing. See, for example, a 4-year degree course you're studying, you go to college, but because of some reason you study till second year and you're not able to, because of some reasons you're not able to write the exam or something. So it's like you're failed, right? You don't get the degree unless you complete, you do your 100%, you complete your second year, third year, fourth year, you write the exams 100% only, then only you can get the degree materially. But spiritual is not like that. So devotional service is not like that. Even 1% work done for Krishna, it gives permanent result. So whatever devotion you do, you continue from there in the next life. See, for example, if you do 50% of devotional spiritual activity in this life, or you practice 50% Krishna consciousness, in the next Janma, you will start from 51%. So there is no loss at all. So this small devotion protects you from the biggest fear. What is that biggest fear? We are fearing of death, right? Death and suffering, right? So what is Krishna saying? So always we should do everything to please Krishna. That is the only best way where we get, I mean, like where we don't get any sin, like no good karma or bad karma. It becomes akarma. Okay, so that's what Krishna is trying to say. Small spiritual act that you do is never lost. It gets carried forward in the next janma. Whereas any material activity that you do, for instance, in this janma, if you even crack IAS or whatever, and you get a lot of money, whatever, that is there only for this janma. In the next janma, what do you have to do? You have to again start from scratch, right? You have to again go to nursery, LKG, UKG first, and you finish 10th. Again, you have to do all your degree, your PhD, then you have to get a job, then you have to do everything right from scratch, right? But spiritual is not like that. If you do 50% in this Janma, next Janma, it is like from 51, you can continue happily. It's an eternal credit for you. It will not go anywhere. So that's what Krishna is telling. A small effort that you put in spirituality will cross you from the greatest fear. What is the greatest fear we have? Death, right? So we can overcome death, right? When we practice Krishna consciousness, we can go back. When you practice Krishna consciousness, means there's no karma. When there's no karma, you don't have to come back to this material world. You'll go back to Godhead. Okay? So that is thing 2.40. Okay. So this is also a very important shloka. Neha Bikrama Nashosti Swalpam Apyas. Oops, what is this overlapping? I'll open the shloka just 1 second. 2.40. Yeah. नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्. So what is Krishna saying here? If you practice Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, what will happen? Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. I think we've done this, right? And a little advancement on this path. Yeah, we've done this just now. Can protect us from the, okay, yeah, from the most dangerous type of fear. That's what we said, right? A little bit of spiritual practice that we do, we can even, I mean, it gets carried forward to the next Janma, and we can overcome the most, we can come out of fear. And what is the fear that we have? Death, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this Loka we've read. Let's see what else we have to. Okay, 2.41. So those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. The intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. See, now Krishna is telling, see, those who are fixed in Krishna consciousness, their aim is only one. But those who are not in Krishna consciousness, they don't have a fixed mind. Their mind is many branched. Like they don't have one particular goal. Like they want to do this. So many goals they have, right? So a person who's fixed in Krishna consciousness, he has only one goal, and what is that? To please Krishna. So such a person, he's clear, he's steady, he does not get confused, he knows serving Krishna means everything is done, right? That is his goal. He knows that if I serve Krishna, everything is done. Hare Krishna, please mute again. It's, yeah, thank you. So serving Krishna means we are serving everybody. So everything is done. It's just like watering the root of the tree. See, if you water the root of the tree, the whole tree is nourished. You don't have to go and water the branches, the leaves, and flowers separately. If you just water the root of the tree, the whole tree is nourished, including the branches, the leaves, flowers. Automatically, everything gets nourishment. So, like that, a person, like who's not fixed in Krishna consciousness, he has many scattered goals. Okay, and he's restless and he's never satisfied. Why? Because he says that I want God also, I want money also, I want respect, I want comfort, I want enjoyment. So their intelligence spreads into many directions, right? They're not fixed like the person in Krishna consciousness. For a Krishna conscious person, he has only one goal, that is to please Krishna. But for a person not fixed in Krishna consciousness, he has scattered goals, like many branched he is, right? And he is restless and he's never satisfied. So that's why he has many goals. He says, I want God also, I want money also, I want respect also, I want comfort, I want enjoyment. Okay, so their intelligence spreads in many directions. So that is why they get confused. So that's why they run after results and they are never satisfied. They go here, here, here. They want this also, that also, that also, that also, and they run here, there, and finally they're never satisfied with anything. But when you work only for Krishna, there is, good and bad reactions stop, right? Akarma, they become akarma, right? So that's why they're saying, Krishna is saying, focus your mind and actions on serving Krishna. That is like one goal. Like just don't keep your intelligence scattered. Just go for one goal, right? Your aim should be one, and that is to please Krishna, right? Those who are many branched, they're confused and they reach nowhere. Okay. So this is 42. Okay, 42 and 43, okay. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say there is nothing more than that. Okay, so what is Krishna telling Arjuna here? See, people with limited knowledge are attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas. And what do they promise? They promise heavenly pleasures, good birth, wealth, and power. So, in the Vedas, there's a particular section which is meant only for doing rituals, which is for sense gratification only, pure sense gratification, where they in the Vedas it is said that if you do this yagna you can go to heaven, If you do this, you will get a good birth. If you do this, you will get wealth. If you do this, you will get power. So, like that, right? So, such kind of people, they're focused on sense gratification. They want to enjoy food, drinking, and they want women and comfort, and they want to even go to heaven. So, such kind of people, they think there is nothing higher than material enjoyment, and they're attached to all these pompous rituals and sacrifices. For them, that is everything. In the Vedas, the rituals and sense gratification, women, drinking, eating, all this, that is, they think that is the goal of life. Sense gratification, material enjoyment, that is the goal of life. So they want only heavenly pleasures. So Krishna is telling that is limited thinking. So that is just a small part of the Vedas. The rituals are a small part of the Vedas. But what is the true understanding of the Vedas? Through the Vedas, we are supposed to understand about Krishna, that Krishna is the ultimate. We have to realize Krishna, right? So that is much higher than all these rituals. So that's what true understanding means. What Krishna consciousness, true understanding and Krishna consciousness are about something much higher than just enjoying these material things. Okay, the rituals in the Vedas are just a small part in the Vedas. But what are the Vedas? Krishna says right in Bhagavad Gita, through the Vedas, I am supposed to be known, I am supposed to be realized, right? So that is the import of the Vedas, not the small part that is there, the rituals or that material enjoyment and sense gratification. So that is just limited, right? The main thing is we have to realize Krishna. Krishna is the source, He's the cause of everything, He is the supreme personality of Godhead, and they lead life like that. Not understanding that the main goal of life is to understand or realize Krishna, okay, through the Vedas. 2.44. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. See, this is very important. People who are too focused on enjoying material things and wealth, they cannot develop a steady determination for devotional service to Krishna. All right, to those who are like, what do you say, in the mode of passion, they want money, they want property, they are attached to their family members, they want name, fame. So all these people, more into material sense gratification. Krishna is saying they cannot focus, put their mind on spirituality. It does not come so easily. Okay, they are so much obsessed, so much obsessed with material pleasures. It blocks, the mind is full of all that only. There is no space. Where will spiritual things come into their mind? When their mind is so filled with all these material pleasures, so it blocks the mind from concentrating on Krishna or on spiritual progress. So we generally think that I will put my leg in this and I'll put my leg in this also. You will say that I want material sense gratification, I want Krishna also. It is not possible. Because if you're materially attached, your mind is so materially attached to those things, your family, wealth, property, name, fame, everything, your business, everything. Where is the space for Krishna? You'll always be thinking about that only. So both can't go together. Okay, so that's what Krishna is saying here. See, those who are attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and those who are bewildered by such things, they cannot take up to devotional service of Krishna. Okay. So 2.45. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So now Krishna is telling Arjuna, the Vedas, they mostly talk about material life. See, anybody who talks about the Vedas, nobody, we never hear anybody saying that Vedas means it is to understand or realize Krishna. They will say Vedas means the rituals that are mentioned. If I do this sacrifice, I will go to heaven. If I do this, I will get a good birth. If I worship this demigod, I will get this. So they will tell this only. Okay, so they mainly talk about material life and how to get some rewards from it. So now that is why Krishna is telling Arjuna to go beyond that. Okay, stay calm in happiness or trouble and focus on understanding Krishna. And true peace comes when we trust and depend fully on Krishna instead of being anxious about material life. About the material results, right? So, what is Krishna telling is the Vedas, they mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. So, three modes of material nature means what? Mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. Means they are on the material platform where there is good and bad karma, there is sense gratification, material enjoyment. So that is why Krishna is saying, by doing these, if you are bound by these three ropes, you have to come back again to suffer or enjoy the reactions. But if you transcend and go above these modes, see, oh Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Right? If you go above that, means you have crossed the material platform and you've come to the spiritual platform, pure goodness platform. Right? You transcend these three modes, be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So then you will, like you're on the spiritual platform means what? Because you're practicing Krishna consciousness, you can come to the, you can cross the material platform and come to the spiritual platform. That is, you're practicing Krishna consciousness. You're just thinking about Krishna. So whatever you do it to please Krishna. So there is no karma, right? When there's no karma, you don't have to again come back to this material world. So that is what Krishna is telling here. So go above these modes and you come to the mode of pure goodness. That is, establish yourself spiritually, right? Come above these three material modes. Okay. So 46. As all purposes, small well can be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Okay, so here see, just like a small well, small well has some water, but if you see a big reservoir, it has plenty of water, right? So like that, the Vedas can be fulfilled by someone who truly understand their purpose. See, actually the main goal of the Vedas is to realize Krishna and our eternal connection with him. But what, like a small well, what do people generally see? They see only the rituals and the karma kandi part, like a small well, but they don't see the reservoir of Krishna. They don't understand that the purpose of the Veda is to realize Krishna, which is like a reservoir. Okay, and they're more focused, they're more interested in that small well only, where they want only that to perform those rituals or karma kandi or material sense gratification. And what is Krishna is saying, what is the easiest and the most effective way to reach this goal, to practice Krishna consciousness, is by chanting the holy name of Krishna. Okay. So 47, Krishna is saying you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. So, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you should do your duty sincerely, but not worry about the results. So you should not think that I alone am responsible for my success or failure. And you should never avoid your duty out of fear or laziness. Okay, like Krishna is Arjuna is out of fear. that he will be the person responsible for killing the relatives, right? So out of fear, he's saying he won't fight. So Krishna is saying, don't do that. Do not avoid your duty out of fear or laziness. So what is Krishna telling Arjuna? Do your duty with sincerity, without greed. I mean, don't expect the results. Leave the result to Krishna and just do your duty to your 100% without running away from your duties and responsibilities. Okay? Krishna never says that you take sannyas. Many people, if their children are reading the Bhagavad Gita, they get scared that they will take brahmacharya or sannyas. But you can clearly see that Krishna is never encouraging renunciation. In fact, he is encouraging them to do their duties. Be situated as a grahastha, do your work, but put Krishna in the center. He's advising Arjuna, who wants to renounce and go into the forest. He's saying, no, you're a kshatriya, you're a grihastha. Your duty is to fight. So fight. Whatever be the situation, whether it's difficult or hard, you do your duty as a kshatriya. Okay? So 2.48. Perform your duty equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So now Krishna is telling Arjuna, do your duty calmly and sincerely. So, and give up attachment to success and failure. Remain peaceful whether things go well or not. So, this balanced attitude is called yoga. So, Krishna is telling, just do your duty. Don't think about the success or failure. Even if there is failure, be calm. Even if there's success, be calm. So, whatever happens, you just remain peaceful, right? Whether things go well or not. That is real yoga. Not that real yoga, it doesn't mean that when I get profit in business, yahoo, I jump, and if I get a loss, I just gloom and bend down. I'm very sad and dejected. Don't be like that, Krishna is telling. So just put your 100% in whatever, like for example, you're doing a business, just do your 100%. And even if you get profit, just thank Krishna. Don't get excited. If there is a loss, okay, Krishna knows it. Nothing happens without sanction of Krishna, right? So he knows it, right? So just be calm, just be equipoised. So that is yoga. Balance yourself. Don't get excited too much or don't get depressed so much. So just be calm and be on an equal level. So that is called yoga, real yoga. And yoga does not mean here, when many people, when we say yoga, they will think that it means sitting or breathing exercises. So it's not that. Yoga means connecting with the Supreme. So doing your duty for Krishna while keeping your you keep your mind connected to Krishna. Whatever work you're doing, for example, you're cooking. Okay, generally the material people, they cook for their sense gratification, right? Because they want to eat, they taste and they see everything and they say, this is very nice, very enjoyable, and they have it. But when we cook for Krishna, we don't even taste, right? Because we're cooking for the satisfaction of Krishna. So first we cook, we cook and then we offer it to the Lord, and then we have it as prasadam. Okay, so it becomes that material activity becomes spiritualized. See, when you do it, see, the Krishna consciousness is actually very simple. It's just the change of consciousness. All the material activities, just by that change of consciousness, they become spiritual. See, every day we have to cook anyways, right? It's just a matter, it just takes you 10 minutes. Like, anyway, you have to cook, you cook, happily you cook. Then, but cook after cooking, you just offer it to Krishna. 10 minutes you offer it to Krishna. Thank you so much, Krishna, for giving us this food. And this is what I've made today, Krishna. See this vegetable rice I've cooked, and in this I've put these vegetables. Hope you like, and I've put cashews and everything. I put this. You can explain nicely to Krishna, because when a guest comes and if a guest likes something, you would nicely try to explain to the guest, right? See, I've put this like this, I've done this. So that's why it's come out like this. So, like that, with the love, you can tell Krishna, see, I've made this for you today. I've made this for you today. Hope you will like it. And then you can just tell Krishna that I put the bananas, I put the salt. In case you feel the salt is less, I put the salt also. And if it is too spicy, you can say Krishna, I put some curd. If it's too spicy, please try to add some curd. It's that the way you talk to Krishna out of love, right? It's just you're connecting yourself with Krishna. It's between you and Krishna. It's not that when you're offering, you just put it there. Oh, go, you eat, like that, as if you're giving it to some stone. Come on, quickly. When the time you put 10 minutes, when it will get over, when it will get over. It's not like that. So nicely out of love, you have to tell Krishna like how when a guest comes home, how you treat him, right? The same way Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Out of his mercy, he's come to our house in the form of deity, right? So how much nicely we have to take care of him, na? So like that, okay? So 2.49. What is all this? Keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, Buddhi Yoga. And in that consciousness, surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. So now Krishna is telling Arjuna, oh Arjuna, see, you leave behind work done only for selfish results. What does that mean? You don't do any work for your sense gratification. That is like we work only for money, pleasure, or praise, like that, right? So that is lower kind of work, right? So Krishna is telling, take shelter of Buddhi Yoga. What is Buddhi Yoga? Buddhi Yoga means Bhakti Yoga or working in Krishna consciousness. So working to please Krishna. So working to please Krishna, that is Krishna is higher and pure. So those who work only to enjoy the results of their work are called misers. So they want to their own sense gratification they want to do. They are called misers. They want the results of their work. Okay, they don't do any work to please Krishna. They want to please themselves. So whatever they do, they want the result for themselves. They are called misers because why are they called misers? See, generally misers means we think that they want to save money, but here they're called misers because they waste the real value of human life. Okay, they're wasting the human life. See, human life is a rare life. It is not meant for doing sense gratification. It is meant to do tapasya. We have to reduce our comforts. Prabhupada says simple life and high thinking. We should not waste our time in earning for food. Just try to earn so much that you can keep your body and soul together. That's more than enough. Don't go for those extra comforts. I want that big bungalow. I want 2, 3 cars and all that. Don't go for all that. Just go for simple living and high thinking. Okay. And that's why Prabhupada says the more you complicate your life, the more Krishna consciousness becomes difficult. So such people, who are more into comforts, they want to show off that their wealth, their riches, their property, everything. They're more into sense gratification. So they don't know the real value of life. The real value of life is to understand Krishna, practice Krishna consciousness, and go back to Krishna. So that they don't understand. They think gaining, like earning more and more money, getting name, fame, buying more properties, right? All these they think are plus points. So such people are called misers. See, everything is temporary in this world. With this body, everything will go. Either that will go first, or you will go first. One of the one among us has to go first, right? Either we may go away from the house that we have built, or that house will go away because of some earthquake or something. Right? Nothing is permanent here. Everything is temporary. So we should try to catch the permanent. What is permanent? Krishna consciousness? In earlier shloka, Krishna said, right, if you even do a 1% of Bhakti Yoga, it will be transferred into your next Janma. But anything that you do material is over in this Janma itself. Next Janma, you have to start fresh again. So why waste our time in all material activities? Yeah, definitely we have to do material activities so much that our body and soul, so that we can maintain. Not don't We should not go to the extent of luxury, comforts, and all that. Okay, that's what Prabhupada says.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
What's the
Pranam.
difference between Buddhi Yoga and Bhakti Yoga? Is there any
What?
difference? Buddhi
What?
Yoga and Bhakti Yoga.
There is no Bhukti Yoga, Mataji.
Buddhi. Just now you mentioned 2.49.
Bhukti, I mean,
The Buddhi
Buddhi
Yoga.
Yoga.
Ah,
Oh, I didn't understand. I heard it as Bhukti. Bhukti. What is this Bhukti? Buddhi Yoga. Sorry, Mataji, what is the question you asked?
what's the difference between Buddhi Yoga and Bhakti Yoga?
Both are same, Mataji. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, both are same. Okay.
Yeah, both are same. That's what devotional service means. Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah. Fine, Mataji. So 2.50. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself both of good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So, Krishna is telling Arjuna here that work done for Krishna frees us from generally anybody from good or bad reactions, and that is the real yoga. Okay, when you work to please Krishna, whatever work you do, it becomes akarma. So there are no good and bad reactions. So if there are no good and bad reactions, you get liberated from this material world. There's no need for you to come back. Only if you have good and bad reactions, both, then you have to come back to this earthly planet. But when you work for Krishna, there is no good and bad karma. You become akarma and you go back to Godhead. Okay. So 2.51. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. The great sages or devotees free themselves. Okay, so here Krishna is saying that great people or devotees who work for Krishna, they don't want any results for themselves. They do it only to please Krishna. So because of this, obviously whatever work they are doing, it has no karma, because any work that you do for Krishna is akarma. And so they are released from the cycle of birth and death, and they reach the spiritual world where there is no misery. So work done for Krishna frees us from karma and we can go back to Godhead. Okay, 52. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. So now, see, when your intelligence becomes clear and you come out of confusion and illusion, you stop running after rituals and all these material things, sense gratification, all that things you leave. Instead, you feel satisfied inside and focused on Krishna. You feel all, see, when you get a taste for the higher thing, all these lower things like economic development, religiosity, sense gratification, they call these, right, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, they become insignificant. When you're practicing Krishna consciousness, the highest, why are we taking up Krishna consciousness? What is our goal? Our goal is not even liberation. Liberation is just a byproduct of Krishna consciousness. Devotees are not interested in liberation. They are looking for, what are devotees looking for in Krishna consciousness? Anybody? They're looking for Krishna Prema. I think yesterday we discussed, right? They want, that is the highest they're looking for. Now we don't have Krishna Prema. It is dormant in our heart. See, everybody, every living entity has Krishna Prema, but it is in a dormant state now. So we just have to awaken it. So, and the easiest way we can awaken it is by practicing, by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So that's why this Hare Krishna mantra is very special. See, there are many mantras for liberation, right? This Hare Krishna mantra is not for liberation. I mean, it gives liberation as a byproduct, that is okay. But the main thing that devotees are looking for is Krishna Prema. They want love of Krishna. Okay? Okay. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas and when it remains fixed in the trance of self realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Okay, so Krishna is saying to Arjuna, when your mind is no longer attracted by the, what do you say, the flowery words of the Vedas or all those rituals in the Vedas like heaven, enjoyment, or rewards, and when your intelligence becomes steady and fixed, where? In practicing Krishna consciousness, right? Where I mean, like what do you say? It becomes steady and fixed in deep spiritual understanding of the self and Krishna. So then you have attained the true yoga, right? So when you know that all these the essence of the Vedas is to know, realize Krishna and not the rituals or all those sense gratificatory activities that are there in the Vedas, that is real yoga. When you understand that Krishna, we have to understand Krishna through the Vedas and not the rituals, that is the highest yoga. Then you have attained yoga. Okay, so what are the 5 benefits of acting in Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga? See, you get freedom from good and bad reactions. See, when you act for Krishna, please Krishna, all your activities become akarma. So you are freed from good and bad reactions. Next. So then you are freed from the cycle of birth and death. So when you have no good and bad reactions, there's no need for you to come back. So you are freed from the cycle of birth and death. And you're indifferent to Vedic rituals. Now, because your intelligence is clear and your confusion is gone, you become indifferent to Vedic rituals. You know the purpose of the Vedas is to realize Krishna. Realization of relationship with Krishna as eternal servitor, Samadhi. So now we understand that we are on the platform of soul, and the what is the Swarupa of the soul? Jivera Swarupa hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. So we are like, see, Jivera Swarup. What is the Swarupa of a Jiva? Krishnera Nityadas. We are the eternal servant of Krishna. And then what happens when you practice Buddhi Yoga? Because there is no karma, you are freed from this material world and you go back to Godhead. Okay. So this is Stita Prajna. I thought I'll take it tomorrow because it's a totally new topic. Stita Prajna, fight and become fixed in Krishna consciousness. Like who is a Stita Prajna in the sense? He's a person who is totally fixed in Krishna consciousness. So Arjuna, he asks, how do I know? How can I know a Stita Prajna, like a person in Krishna consciousness? How does he look? How does he walk? How does he talk? So all the symptoms we'll try to see tomorrow.